So you've decided to make your desktop environment more productive by using workspaces, and you want to know how to use it. Well, you're in the right place. In this intro video, you will learn how to create new workspaces, add resources in order to save time when you are working on your projects. So let's get started. Okay, I've installed the application and started it running already, and you know it's running because of the workspaces icon we have in the menu bar. Now you can start workspaces in one of two ways. We can click the menu bar icon here and then click it again to close it. Alternatively, you can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control, Option, Command and the down arrow to start it. And then press those keys once more to stop. I'll just click it to open. And when we open workspaces, we're presented with the search window where we can search for both existing workspaces or resources. To enter the editor, which is where you create workspaces and where you add resources, you can click the edit button. And then just down in the bottom right hand corner, if I click on these ellipses here, we have several options. So we can get information on the current version of workspaces that's installed. We can go into preferences, which we're going to cover very soon in this video. We can check for the latest updates for the application, as well as send feedback directly to the Apptorium team. Now this is really important because feedback from our customers helps mold the future of the application and gives us ideas for improvements. And finally, here is where you can enter your license information as well as quit the application. I'm going to click on edit though. So the sidebar here to the left is where the workspaces will be created. When I use the application, I use workspaces for the main projects that I'm working on. So I've got all the materials that I need, or all of the main materials in any case, in one place. So to create a new workspace, I can click the plus button down here and then type in the name of the workspace or project. Alternatively, I can add a workspace directly from the search window. So if I close the editor here, then press Control, Option, Command, down arrow again to bring up search, I could type in a colon, which brings up a whole list of new commands that you may want to play with, then the word new, and then I'll finish with the name of the workspace that I want to create. Then when I press enter, we have the new workspace created. Good stuff. So what do we do with an empty workspace? Well, we fill it. We fill it with resources that we're going to be accessing regularly. So to add resources, we click on the plus button just at the bottom here. Alternatively, you can drag a resource directly in from Finder, but I'll show you this method during this screencast. And here we can see a list of the resources that can be added. And what we're going to do over the next minute or so is just add one instance of each of these resources so that you know what they're used for. Okay, first we have file. Now when you're adding a new resource via this manual method, you need to give the resource a name. Now this doesn't need to be its actual name, it's just something that you would like to refer to it as. So I'll just call this one text document here. Then we need to drag the actual file in. So I'll come down to my dock, I'll open Finder, then I'll select this document over here. Just note the X that is next to the file in Workspaces at the moment. This means that there is an issue and the file can't be opened for one reason or another. But as soon as I drag it up to the Workspaces editor, we have an icon that shows a preview of the text. All is good. So if I was to activate a workspace, this file would be opened for me. Or I can search the workspace and I can open it manually at any point. Okay, I'll leave Finder open at the minute because the next resource we can add is a folder. And this means that when we activate this particular resource, a Finder window will open at the folder's location, which saves you having to search for it. So I'll just drag in this folder here. There we are. So far so good. Now I'll just minimize the Finder window now because we're going to need it again soon. And the next resource that we can add is a website. So if I give this a name, let's call it Apptorium. And we have two options for adding content here. I can manually type in the name of the web address. We can see it's resolved pretty quickly there. We can see the Apptorium logo. And there is a second way. I'll just delete this. And to do that, we can press the backspace key or we can click on the minus button down here to remove. And that second way is to drag a website in here. So let's create a new one and I'll just give it the same name. And this time I'm going to come down to the dock. I'm going to open Safari. I'll just move Safari so that I can drag and drop the URL easily. And if I click on the address bar up here, drag the URL across, we can see that's added as well. Okay, cool stuff. Let's get rid of Safari here. And back to the next resource, which if I click is email. Now this allows us to access specific emails and you can open them at the touch of a button. So if there's information that you frequently need, but you don't want to go down that rabbit hole of your inbox, where if you're anything like me, you have more people requesting your attention than ever every time you go in there, storing individual emails here in Workspaces is a great idea. Now you can only import emails from mail.app. So if I open mail.app down here in the dock, just going to move it again so I've got them almost side by side. I'll drag the email across and that email's in there. Okay, let's close mail. Next, I'll add an application. And this really is as simple as it sounds. You put an application in the workspace to enable you to open it quickly and easily or automatically when you activate the workspace. So I'll open Finder. I'll do it from Spotlight this time. I'll scroll to my applications folder. Let's just move this window there. I'll find Workspaces or any app that I want to drag in and I'll slide it across. And I'll just close Finder. I'll click plus to add the next resource in. And this one is a terminal resource. Adding this allows you to open a terminal connection to a specific folder. So when this resource is started, terminal, or another app if you prefer, will open and the path will be pre-filled with the folder that you choose here. And to select the folder, I'll activate Finder again. I'll go to the folder that I want to add. It's not there on screen actually, so I'll go to Computer, then trawl my way through to find that folder that I would like. This also helps you see the path as well, so it can validate this when I activate it later. Then I'll move this across, I'll drag the folder in. There we are. Okay, let's close this. Let's take a look at what we have next. So we can add a URL. Now at first glance, this looks like it's just another option to add a website. And yeah, you can put a website in here, of course. But Workspaces also supports URL linking between apps. And there's a wide variety of uses for this. So for example, if I type tel with a colon and then a phone number, this URL resource, when activated, will call that number. Let's add another. If you want to send a regular email to a particular stakeholder on your project, like some form of highlight report maybe, then you can type mail to and a colon and then your email address. And then when this resource is activated, a blank email with the recipient filled in will be opened, again saving some valuable clicks and time. Okay, next we have actions, and these actions are plugins that can be installed from the preferences menu, and these are going to be covered in a separate video as they're a little bit more of a power user feature. And then finally here we have a separator. Now you can give this a title, although you don't have to, and this just acts as a logical separator that you can drag between resources. So you could create a section here for calls, one for emails, one for applications, one for source files perhaps, one for audio files. Do you see what I mean? There's lots of options that you have here, all available in a nice segmented little workspace. Okay, now the resources are in, let's take a look at how we configure them. So I'll click on text document first of all, and across here on the right hand side, I'll click on options, and this determines which application will be used to open this file. So the default we can see here is TextEdit. If there are any other files capable of opening an RTF file, then you can select those here. I'll stick with the default one for now though. Then down here next to launch, we can click the drop down, and this is where we determine how the resource is going to open. Is it something that can only happen manually, or when we look to automatically activate the workspace, which we're going to do very soon, is this resource going to open automatically? And if it does, when's it going to happen? Is it going to be straight away, or would you like to have a delay? If so, you can specify how many seconds you would like that delay to be for. You can also hide the application after launch so that if you have a lot of resources you're going to open at once, you don't crowd the screen and reduce your real estate. Now moving across to the folder now, and options is similar in that you can choose a different application other than Finder to show it. Now to the websites. And the options here that you have will be for different web browsers. So unlike me, if you have Chrome or others installed, then they're going to appear here as options. Down to the email that we set, and there are no options here because mail.app is the only mail application that's supported with Workspaces. The application one does have options though, and here you can choose a file or directory that the application is going to open on launch. And none of these below 3 resources here have got any options available other than the standard manual versus automatic opening actions. Okay, so with the resources in place now for working on my new website, how do I get to them from the Workspaces menu bar? Well, firstly I'll click and the search window opens. So as it says, we can search for any workspaces or resources in here. So if you've got a lot of workspaces listed, you may need to do a search for the one that you're after. Alternatively, you can just search for a resource. And to do this, you need to search for the names of them, not their file paths or any kind of metadata, but the names that you have manually given them. So if I type mail, I can see two results here. The top one is the email template that I can send out, and the bottom one being the email printout that we added in earlier. Selecting any of these will open that resource. And there it is, open in the background. I'll just close that and come back in. It's still got the same search entry and results on show. Let's search for another resource now. I'll type call. And if I was to tap enter here, then a call would be made to that number. Okay, back again. And this time I'm just going to press enter on the workspace. So here we can see a list of all of the resources that I've added. On the right hand side of one of them though is a purple dot. And there is also a start button now, which when pressed is going to open or start any of the resources that are marked with a purple dot. So let's see how we get that dot in place. I'll move the search window over here a bit, then click edit. Now I'll just shift this over to the side. Okay. Now if we look at text document here, we can see that it's set to automatically start, which is what makes that purple dot appear. If I change it to manually, then the dot disappears. So I'll set it back again, and I'll set it to open immediately. Then the folder. What should we do with that? I'll set that one to open automatically and immediately. The website, I think I'll leave that manually. The email, I'll set automatically. In fact, let's go back up to the website. I'm going to set this to automatic, and I'm going to give it a delay as well. Let's say 8 seconds. There. Okay, I'll leave the application. I'll change the terminal window to automatic, but I'll leave the phone call and the dummy email to manual. There we are. Okay, that's all set. Let's close the editor. And now to activate all of the resources that are set to automatic, I could click start, or I could press Command and R. So I'll do that. And look at all of this stuff that's just opened up. So here we have the terminal window opened at the path that we set earlier. I'll close this. Oh, there's the website opening that we had set to an 8-second delay. Bang on time, I'll close that. Now I'll close that terminal window. Here is the email that we saw earlier. Let's close that down. And next we have the text file that we added. I'll just close this mail window, which should have been minimized earlier. And then finally, we have the folder, which is open in Finder at its exact location. So if you mix this up with hiding some applications and files as soon as they're launched, you can save a lot of time and effort. Now you may not want to open them all, of course, at once, which is fine. In that case, click Workspaces once more, highlight the resource that you would like to open, and press Enter or the keyboard shortcut to the right. Right, let's close that and go back into Workspaces. And you can use your keyboard to navigate here quickly. You don't actually need to use your mouse or your trackpad at all. You can use the arrow keys. You can use Enter or the keyboard shortcuts to get to where you want to go. You can also put some inline notes in by clicking on the pencil icon in the bottom left, or using the keyboard shortcut, which is Command and 0. And this pops out a drawer for you to type on, and then click again to close. Let's take a look at a couple more things in the editor before we close off this video. Actually, let's just go back a stage. The search window was over to the left of the screen, but if I come up here and click on the menu bar icon, but hold that click, then the Workspaces search window automatically centralizes, which is pretty cool. Okay, back to the editor. And we have some options here that we can select for the workspaces. If I right click, we can change the icon for the space. Rather than going with the default, we can rename the workspace. And we can also duplicate it. If we select, here it takes all of the resources and it creates an exact replica of them in a new workspace. You just need to give it a new name. And now you have a copy of the older one, which is great if you have a lot of projects that repeat, but they maintain similar resources for them. Right, going back into our workspace options now, we can delete the workspace permanently, or if we don't need to see it here anymore, but we may need to refer to it in the future, we can archive it, which essentially just hides the space. And then to see it again, I'll click on the drop down arrow next to workspaces. And from here, we can either see our active workspaces, our archived ones, or our templates. So I'll select archived. And here is our archived space. We can put it back here by right clicking and selecting Make Active. I'll click the drop down again, and this time press Command 1 to go into the Workspaces view. Then the final two options that we have for the Workspaces are to save it as a template and to copy the URL. And these are going to be covered in a different video. Okay, let's close this video out now by looking at the preferences that we have available to us. So we'll access these by clicking the ellipses here or by pressing Command and comma. And you can also access them by clicking on the ellipses here in the editor section of the app. Let's close the editor though and take a look at what we got. Okay, so in general, we can launch the app automatically on startup. And also if there is a core workspace that you want to have activated as soon as Workspaces starts, then you can set that here. And down here, we can change the theme of the app. And then as soon as Workspaces starts, you can set it so that any applications open when it starts are hidden. And it can also play a sound as well. Now down here, if you have any applications that can act as an alternative for Terminal or Finder, like Pathfinder for example, you can set that default application for those here. Okay, onto the editor now, and you can select whether you always want the editor window to appear on top of others. You may have a use case for that. And also you can select whether any new resources are set to automatically start by default. Now mine here is unchecked, which is why when we originally looked at my workspace, only one of the resources was set to automatically start, and that's because we specifically told it to. You can also set a keyboard shortcut here to automatically open or hide the editor. Next, we can configure some settings that are specific to the search function. So first, you can change its appearance, either full or minimalistic. Let's see how that looks. I'll open search. I'll move this window across. Wait a second, that won't be right. I need to move it down here because we need to see these shortcuts. That's better. So this is full. I'll switch to minimalistic now. And anything that can be run via a keyboard shortcut is removed. And if I put full back, everything returns. Okay, let's go back. And sorting. You can sort your list of workspaces by name, by mostly used or by most recently used, or alternatively, you don't have to sort them at all. You can select to automatically close the search window when you open a resource manually. Also, you can check these boxes to open workspace or a resource with a single mouse click. Now, underneath these, we have the shortcut to open and hide the search window that we've been using so far. And also there are some keyboard modifiers that are available for when you click on the workspace. So Option click will open the workspace in editor view. You can use Command Option click to start the workspace. And if you press Option and click on the menu bar icon, the search window will open with the search results list there. Now plugins are going to be covered in a separate video. And finally, there is a data folder which allows you to import your data from Workspaces 1.5. allowing for an easier upgrade or migration between machines. So there we are. That's a brief overview of Workspaces 2. We hope you love it and be ready for more videos that highlight additional features for this application.